Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today, sir?
Spectacular. How are you?
Oh, my gosh. The Bengals are in the Super Bowl. We talked about this for a very little bit last week because we knew that our friend, the amazing, the debonair lead singer, the previously known as Locked On Bengals greatest writer in the history of the website, also known as one of the greatest, well, probably a Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's been inducted yet because I don't know if he's been out of it for long enough, but definitely a Hall of Fame Turkey Bowl football quarterback. Mr. Andre Edwards is here with us on the podcast to break down the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Unreal. Like, almost as unreal as that introduction is just how unreal the idea is that the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm speechless, boys. Like, I am not one who is often at loss for words, but I'm stunned. Like, absolutely stunned. And this has been a week that I've been processing it for a week, and I'm still stunned.
Monday last week, I drove to West Virginia after we beat the Chiefs for the second time this year.
In a month? No, second time in a month.
In a month. I'm on my way to West Virginia, and I think I told this story last week. I went through every emotion you can possibly go through on my 3-hour drive. I laughed. I cried. I did, just bring back Jimmy V and have Jimmy V do his whole speech and all of those things I did on my 3-hour drive. I can't even tell you. It doesn't feel real to say it out loud.
Yes.
But brother, I got the merch, man. There's a 56.
I mean, it says it on there. Like, I'm reading it and I still don't believe it.
So we're going to break down. We don't need to break down too much of that game. We're going to talk about the Bengals and the Rams. We're also going to talk about Brian Flores because we got into that for a half a second last week and we said we wanted to save it. I believe Adam, my favorite line I think I've ever heard in my life. And Adam, you might be able to pull your phone up and quote it better. But I saw Adam last night after my son had basketball practice after his high school team had practice, and I saw him and I asked him and he said, are you ready? You good to do the Brian Flores stuff? And I said, absolutely. I said, and then Adam, tell me what the quote was from Andre Edwards. Probably my favorite quote that I've ever heard in my entire life.
He can probably tell you better than I can. I asked him if he was comfortable talking about that.
Andre Schmidt. Adam Schmidt asked you if you were comfortable talking about Brian Flores on the podcast. Can you please relay your answer to the world?
I mean, one, I thought I was super kind of you to even be thoughtful enough to ask me that question. Thank you. Secondly, my response was, I'm a black dude in America. I know how this thing works. Are you comfortable talking about the Brian Flores thing?
The answer to that is I'm not even sure.
Exactly, Andre. The answer to that question.
I've been talking about it for 45 years. Are you okay with this conversation?
Yes, we are comfortable because it's you. We're definitely comfortable talking to you about this because we love you and we've known you forever. So it's
I feel like I could talk to just about anybody about this because I think it's something I've talked about on this podcast before, but we'll get to that later. Let's break down the Bengals to start. All right. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to be playing the Rams. Now, before we get into anything, I have one question for you, Andre.
Okay.
And this has been going around. I've heard this on the radio a few times. And if you listen to Tony Pike or any of those guys,
give me the Super Bowl.
Let's go. Give me the chip, baby.
I'm assuming your question is, do you want the Super Bowl or do you want Joe Burrow for the rest of his career? Give me the Super Bowl on Sunday. Give it to me now. Right now. That's all I want. I don't care. Give me the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And the reason why 100%. I say that, the reason why I say that is the counter argument is well, Andre didn't, if you lose this time, then you get Joe Burrow for the next 10 or 15 years. And then I immediately go to, what did all those folks who were like, give me Dan Marino for the next 10 or 15 years? Hall of Fame quarterback, went to the Super Bowl in his second year and never went back. Right?
I wrote a list of them down. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Phillip Rivers, Warren Moon, Frank Tarkenton, Dan Fouts, Mike Vick, Donovan McNabb, Rich Gannon, Randall Cunningham, Steve McNair, all insane quarterbacks. How many chips they got? Goose egg.
And I mean, let's look at today's, like, the next coming of the greatest quarterback ever, Mr. Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, like, hands down, you're not going to find very many people who are like, he might be the third best quarterback in the league. Like, everybody's like, Patrick Mahomes is it. The man has hosted 4 straight consecutive AFC championship games. How many chips does he have?
No.
So
just the one.
That's one for a dude that everybody feels is the second coming of whoever, and he's got one. I've been waiting 33 years to watch my team play again in the Super Bowl. No, give me the championship on Sunday. If you're guaranteeing me that I can walk away on Sunday with that championship, cool. And then I still got 3 more years of Burrow's rookie contract to figure out if we can win another one. Fine. I don't care.
I'm in. All right. That was an easy one, right? Adam, you take the Super Bowl or you take Joe Burrow for the rest of his career?
Super Bowl.
Or did we talk you into the answer? Okay.
No, yeah. Super Bowl. It's been 30 whatever years. And you're right. Might not happen again. Even as great as Joe Burrow is, it might not happen again.
Correct. Like, I'm not taking chances on injuries. I'm not taking chances on contracts. I'm not taking chances on, I don't know, there could be a natural disaster on the one Super Bowl we're about to win, and then everything just goes to pieces. And no, I'm not doing it. You guaranteed me one, I'm in.
I will have Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl champions garb that no one can ever take away from me. Correct. I don't have any of that right now. I don't. Correct. Nobody does.
Yep.
I mean, some little person in also Venezuela or something might have a 1988 Super Bowl, maybe Bengals Super Bowl shirt, but that's about it. All right, so then let's move. Let's talk about the actual game. Bengals offensive line has been talked about a lot now. But before I see your eye, because I got my things I want to say about it too. I'm done hearing about it. I'm going to put this out there right now for everybody listening. Wild card games. Bengals, Joe Burrow was sacked twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different teams gave up more sacks than the Bengals did. Five of the 8 teams, 5 of the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 teams gave up more sacks than the Bengals. And 3 teams gave up the same amount of sacks. 2. Last week, AFC Championship week, against a really good Kansas City team. 1. Burrow was sacked once. One time. I know what happened against Tennessee. We all witnessed it. Burrow knows what happened against Tennessee, and if you ask him, he'll probably tell you that about 3 or 4 of those might have been on him anyway. So, that being said, I am sick and tired of hearing about this offensive line. Now, I'm still scared of that Rams defensive front because Aaron Donald's on there. But who are you more scared of? Andre Edwards? Are you more scared of Jalen Ramsey taking away a receiver like a Jamar Chase without having to double team him, therefore having more guys in the backfield, not leaving that T. Higgins slant as wide open as it's been because you're not getting double teamed, or are you more scared of Aaron Donald on the line?
Aaron Donald is the best player that I've ever watched play football, period. Hands down, without question. Aaron Donald completely and totally wrecks games. Even the best cover corners, I mean, think back to the days of like Revis Island. Even the best cover corners get burned on occasion. Hell, just last week, Jalen Ramsey got burned for a touchdown in the San Francisco game. Those things happen. But if you can get consistent pressure right up the middle to where you're not coming off an edge and chipping with the back or chipping with the tight end. You're coming right up the middle, where unfortunately for the Bengals, that is the weakest point of their offensive line. So much so they are rotating right guards at the moment. that scares me. There is zero question, and I hear you on the adjustments that were made between the Tennessee game and the Kansas City game, and I appreciate those. The one thing I will say about this is probably, from a matchup standpoint, the biggest mismatch of any two pieces of football team. So the strength versus a weakness, like, this is massive. I'm talking, you got Von Miller, who's a Hall of Famer. You've got Aaron Donald, who's a Hall of Famer, and they still have other pieces that also can get to the quarterback, mostly when you decide to put three dudes on Aaron Donald. So that piece of things really concerns me, especially when you pair it with how the Bengals most like to play, which is 5 wide, right? So that means you got 5 dudes blocking and a quarterback, that's 6, and you got 5 wides, which gives you 11. That means a lot of one-on-one blockings and or a lot of free runners, and Joe's got to get the ball out quick because we're putting, again, 2 dudes on Von Miller or 2 dudes on Aaron Donald, whatever that takes. So you're either doing that or you're going to 6- and 7-man protections, which then only leaves 3 or 4 dudes out in a route, and they've got 7 dudes in coverage. I mean, that's tough, and that's going to be tough, and that's where you got to figure out what the balance to that is. But I'm not scared of a cornerback and who he might take away, because for the Bengals, I think one of the strengths of their team is the fact that they are multiple. They can go to Chase, they can go to Higgins, they can go to Boyd, they can go to potentially and hopefully Uzama, they can go to Mixon. I mean, there are a lot more other options, and I believe Burrow will find the open receiver and make that play happen, as long as he has enough time to be able to do that.
So total, is this by far the best defense that they will have faced?
I think it has the potential to be the most disruptive. I don't know if it's the best. I would say probably statistically, it probably is the best. But they can be scored upon, which is a good thing. But I think I can't remember what the I was gonna say how many points per game they've given up in the playoffs, but
it's not much.
But yeah, they're not. They don't allow a ton of points. I think they were maybe number 1 in the league in rush defense this year. So I mean, yeah, they're pretty stout. And again, it's the biggest strength versus our biggest weakness.
So is it going to be dinking and dunking down the field, screen passes, and just little quick outs to make sure he gets the ball out of his hands and pick up 4 yards at a time, hopefully, or then get within field goal range and have Evan McPherson kick 6 field goals? Or, I mean, you think they're going to be able to do anything besides that?
I think you win any way that you can, and that you can't change who you are, at your core. And at your core, Joe Burrow is at his best in 5 wides. And so I think you pick and choose when you take your shots, right? I think you're constantly on the lookout as your offensive coordinator who's sitting up in the booth. Every time Aaron Donald goes off the field, we're taking a shot. Like, we got to go. We have to do this, right? And I think you pick and choose where you do what you do. If you go back and look at the tape last week of the Kansas City game, everybody was all upset because the Bengals kept running on first down, and it didn't seem to be very effective. But what that did was slow down that Kansas City pass rush. And so it kept them honest and kept them, even though it was only, 2 yards, 3 yards at a time, it kept them honest. It kept them from just teeing off and coming after Burrow. And I think That's what the Bengals are gonna have to do. They're gonna have to find a way to at least make the run game decoy eligible, so that, all right, we'll at least respect the run game enough to have five. They usually run 5 defensive linemen for whatever reason. I'm not sure why they do that, but and if you can keep them in that 5 defensive linemen and then go spread, now we can do something.
I like it. I mean, all right, what's the biggest key factor of the game? Who is the biggest key factor outside of Aaron Donald and outside of Joe Burrow, right? So Joe Burrow is the key factor. We'll put Joe Burrow as, the main piece on for the Bengals. We'll put Aaron Donald as the main piece on defense. But from there, what is the key factor in this game?
So because we chose one from either side on this one, I'll choose one from either side on the key factor piece. So one will be Cooper Kupp for LA. I mean, he won the triple crown of wide receivers. So most receptions, most yards, and most touchdowns by a receiver in a season. Like, dude's just unreal. And the way he runs routes is really, really fun to watch when you don't have to play against him. And I think on the opposite end of that spectrum for the Bengals, I think it's going to be Trey Hendrickson. Can you get consistent pressure on Matt Stafford? Because we've seen, whether he was with Detroit or whether he's been with LA, if you can get Matt Stafford rattled, he will absolutely throw you one or two picks, at least one or two pickable opportunities, right? You got to catch him, Mr. Tart from San Francisco. Like, if he throws you a lollipop, you got to catch it. Yep. But he will absolutely throw up 1, 2, maybe 3 opportunities for you to turn him over. Now, if you don't get that pressure on him, he will absolutely pick you apart.
Let me ask you this, because this is what I think the biggest key is. I think Zach Taylor is the key factor in this. Zach Taylor sat in on every coaches meeting that the Rams had last time they were in the Super Bowl. Zach Taylor knows every little nuance of Sean McVay and what his tendencies are. I know that obviously these teams change consistently every year, but everybody's got the same slight tendencies as a coach, especially just 3 years later, 4 years later. Can that not be something huge that the Bengals have? I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but
I don't know.
Is that something that he's in there talking to the defense? Like, hey, you see this, this is going to happen.
I don't know if it's huge, because if I'm Sean McVay, like, I know what Zach knows, right? I know what he's going to be looking for. So, I mean, just as easily as I know that, hey, every time we come out with this particular wide receiver in this particular spot, I usually run a jet sweep. This time we're not going to run a jet sweep. We're going to do something else. And because I know Zach is expecting me to do that, right? So it can be, to an extent, an advantage, because, hey, I got some general ideas of what he did, but, like, that was Jared Goff. This is Matt Stafford. Cooper Kupp wasn't nearly the weapon that he is now. They added OBJ. Like, I mean, there are some significant changes that, while you may see some things, I don't know how big of an advantage that would be necessarily. If we're throwing the two together, yes, more of an advantage from that goes to Zach Taylor, because he has been around Sean as a head coach, versus Sean has not had the opportunity to be around Zach as a head coach. So if you're looking for any little bit of advantage in that, I would say advantage Zach, but I wouldn't put too much stock in it.
Wide receivers not playing in this game, who do you feel worse for? Robert Woods or AJ Green?
Good question. I mean, I know the answer that Andre's going to say.
Look, man, I don't know, man. Look, I feel bad for Robert Woods. And the reason why I say that is because AJ Green quit. That's what I say. AJ Green quit. And if you quit, I will always have love for AJ Green as a player and the time that he spent here, right? Like, he was awesome. He was great. He was wonderful. Joe Burrow's first year could have been a whole heck of a lot better had AJ Green not quit. And he quit on that team. And I can't get behind that, man. I just can't.
I agree. Speaking of AJ Green, you got guys like Chris Collinsworth. You got guys like, well, not as much Chris Collinsworth, but Chad Johnson. We've had some really Carl Pickens. We've had some really good wide receivers over the past however many years. Chris Collinsworth, when Jamar Chase was drafted, was quoted as saying he'll be the best wide receiver that the Bengals will ever have. And a week ago said, I don't take back anything I said. I think he's already the best wide receiver that I've ever seen in a Bengals uniform. That being said, how much of that is Joe Burrow and how much of that is Jamar Chase?
I don't know. Did you see Jamar Chase versus Baltimore on that 82-yard touchdown? Where it was like,
all Jamar Chase.
Here, let me throw you a 12-yard slant. And he pirouetted around in a circle, dropped 4 dudes and ran, for a touchdown. Or, hey, let me hit you versus Kansas City in the first game on this 12-yard hitch, and you just back it back and run another 60 yards for a touchdown. I mean, I think they are very complementary to one another. They all the back shoulder throws where it's just pure timing and there's nothing a cornerback can do, and all of those things, man. It comes from, as Burrow would say, it comes from they've done this thousands of times, which sounds insane, but it's so true, right? I mean, you had 2 seasons together. While the first season wasn't as memorable at LSU, you had 2 seasons together at LSU, and now you got a full season together in the NFL. I mean, there's potential for thousands of balls to have been thrown between the 2 of them, and you just feel it. You just know. And, to put up the stats that he's put up this year is just absolutely unreal. I thought Justin Jefferson last year, I was thinking, wow, we gave all that praise to Chase in college. Maybe Justin Jefferson was the better of the 2, like, coming out. And then I'll be danged if, Chase doesn't come out the next year and kill those numbers. Like, man, good Lord, this is insane.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling from probably both of those guys, but definitely from Burrow, just by the way he talks. And you hear more from Burrow because he's asked more questions. But you get the feeling, at least I get the feeling, that he's going to make sure they work out together a lot in the offseason and get thousands more this season, even going to the Super Bowl. Even if they win the Super Bowl, you get that feeling like those guys are going to get after it in the offseason to make sure they stay that way.
It feels Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, like,
Yep.
That's what it feels like to me, of like, we are in lockstep all the time, and they both have this ego, and not in a bad way, but they both have this ego about them that they want to be the best. And not just like, I don't want to be the best this season. Like, I want to be the best, period. I'm coming in to break all the records. Are you sure you want to say that? Yes. I'm coming in to break all the records, all of them.
Joe Burrow is sure about everything he says.
Yes.
Well, that was Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is about to break all of the records within his first 3 years.
Like, let's go.
Oh, man. I don't even know exactly where to go from here, because I cannot stop. Why does this keep going off? I don't know. But anyway,
how about this?
I cannot stop.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay, let's go.
Is Joe Burrow a top 5 quarterback in the NFL today? With Brady retiring, is Joe Burrow top 5 quarterback in the NFL?
Okay, well, let's go through it then. All right, let's do this. Let's go through it. So you've got Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
You've got Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Now, from there, let's take a step back and think who we can honestly say is better. Because let's be honest. I mean, it's not like that Tennessee game. Joe Burrow went out there and won the game, right?
Nope.
I mean, it was 19-16 or whatever it was.
Correct.
But let's figure it out.
But he didn't lose the game either, which a lot of quarterbacks who would have gotten sacked 9 times would have lost that game.
Sure, there'd probably been at least 2 fumbles involved in those 9 sacks.
Maybe. But I'm just saying that the stat there is no. He is the first quarterback to win a playoff game having been sacked more than 7 times.
Yes, and I would love to see what the numbers are of any NFL game when a quarterback is sacked 9 times. I keep hearing that NFL number or the playoff number, but I'd love to hear what the actual number is ever.
Correct.
That being said, at this point in time, maybe it's just because we just saw all this stuff, but there's no more Brady.
Nope.
Breeze is gone.
Yep.
Manning's gone. Why would you not? You've got Justin Herbert. You can't tell me that Joe Burrow is not just as good as Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is a fantastic quarterback. Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback, but you can't tell me that I'm not saying that Burrow is hands down better, but you can't tell me either of them are hands down.
I don't want equivalent. I want to know who is he a top 5 quarterback? So who's better?
Well, at this point in time, we've got 2 guys that I.
All right, so let me throw some names at you. What about Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson, only because if you say right now,
sure.
Right now, I put Joe Burrow.
Let's say everybody's healthy, right? So we're not factoring in injuries and let's say everybody's healthy today, right now. Russell Wilson over Joe Burrow.
Russell Wilson's tough just because he's got such a body of work, and like you said, he was not healthy last year. So I mean, I put Russell Wilson above Joe Burrow because he earned it. He's earned it.
Adam, what do you say? Would you put Russell Wilson above Joe Burrow?
I don't know if I'd put him above. Maybe it's a recency bias thing, but I don't know the way Joe Burrow's played, and then it is hard to compare because this year is so fresh. But I don't know, man. That's tough.
How about a healthy Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I think he's better than a healthy Lamar Jackson. Lamar
Jackson, previous league MVP. Don't forget that.
That's how I stopped myself. Both of those. See, once again, here's my problem, and just what Adam said. Here's my problem. I hate people. I hate recency bias. I hate people who watch one football game and then all of a sudden that's the best team in the NFL that week.
Sure.
I can't stand that.
Sure.
So this is not easy to do.
No, it's not.
Because these other people have earned the name of what they have. But
you've seen them perform.
And you've seen them perform. But that being said, we've seen Joe Burrow perform.
Absolutely.
We've seen Joe Burrow not just in the NFL, but in the biggest stage at Alabama in an SEC championship game, in 2 playoff games and a national championship game in the NCAA, which is probably just as big of a game as he'll ever play outside of the Super Bowl.
Right.
In Kansas City, which isn't as big a deal as people make it out to be, apparently, because they're like 50% over whatever the last few years is. But in Kansas City, he comes through. I mean, you can't not take that recency bias out of it because he has not performed.
Yeah.
When he's had the opportunity. I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to put Lamar Jackson above him, and I'm going to put Joe Burrow as 4, and then I'm going to put Russell Wilson as 3, and then I'm going to go Josh Allen, and then I'm going to go Justin Herbert, and that is no knock on either of those guys. So I put Joe 4th. I put Joe top 5.
Adam?
You had him at 4?
Yes. I put Lamar above him and Russell below him.
Man, Josh Allen keeps crossing my mind.
Yeah, same.
Josh Allen is a bad man.
Same.
He's
what do we think of Kyler Murray? Just throwing that name out there.
Kyler Murray gets on my nerve. Right now, I'm upset with Kyler Murray because I don't agree with the way he's doing things. I don't agree with the way he's doing things.
Yeah,
he is very. He's a stud.
Nope, you just take that off. Take that off the field. Nope, we're purely going play.
I put Joe Burrow. I put Joe Burrow above Kyler Murray, not by much. I put Kyler Murray. I mean, Kyler Murray is as good as a lot of these guys. There's a lot of really good. Again,
like this is not and I throw these names out there to say it's just not. I'm not saying Dak Prescott is better than Joe Burrow. I'm just saying there are a handful of really good quarterbacks that make you stop and think and go, we all want a top 5 quarterback, right? We all do. Every team wants, hey, I have a top 5 quarterback. Is he a top 5 quarterback today? I'm not saying he won't be. I'm not saying that things don't change and, next year he's with an offensive line. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Today, after what you've seen from him for a year and a half, would you put him in the top 5 of all 32 teams?
It'd be hard to take on. It'd be hard to make an argument for him not to be right now.
That's what I was going to say. I drive Chris crazy with this stuff all the time because I can't really commit to anything, but 3 or 4 through 8, they're so close. It's hard. You can make an argument for every single one of those guys to be a top 5 quarterback.
Yep.
So I say yes, but you can convince me that somebody else is right now better because Joe Burrow's played a year and a half in the NFL.
Right. Boys, do you know who we didn't say? Matt Stafford.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Who, by the way, top 10 quarterback easily in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, dude's Hall of Famer.
So top 10, but definitely not top 5.
Especially if he wins the Super Bowl. If he wins the Super Bowl on Sunday, Hall of Famer.
Yep. But you look at his total stats all for his career right now.
50,000-yard passer. Like, give him 5 more years. Yeah.
Yep.
He's 34. Yeah.
But you're saying not top 5 right now.
And not, I mean, would you put him in your top 5 right now?
Throws too many picks. Too many picks in too many big situations.
I think
you know who led the NFL in picks this year? For most
that was my other one I was going to not most of the year, all of the so Andre, give us, is Joe Burrow a top 5 quarterback to you?
I'm going to say yes, but he's probably number 5.
So you're putting Russell up above him, or you putting Josh Allen up?
I'm not. I'm putting so you got your top 2, and then I'm putting Josh Allen, the healthy Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson has proven he can throw the ball from the pocket now, and that makes him.
And he is so freaking dynamic, man. Like when he's healthy, I mean, like, good God,
insane. He's just
take so hard to stop.
Take Mike Vick, like elusiveness at Mike Vick's peak, and put it with Brett Favre's arm speed, like with the cannon, and he had. At one point in time last year, maybe it was at the end of the year, he had the highest percentage of completed passes on balls thrown over 30 yards down the field. And they say he's not a pocket quarterback.
Yeah.
A pocket passer. I mean, come on, man. That's insane.
Look here. You telling me I got to roll with Lamar Jackson and he's healthy. I'm like, let's go. I'll figure it out.
Would you trade Joe Burrow for Lamar Jackson right now?
Absolutely not.
No chance. No. Lamar Jackson stands in the pocket, his head's bopping, and there's too much of a chance he can get hurt.
Yes, that's my issue. Is because one of his superpowers is his legs. You get heel, ankle, knee. I mean, there's just way too many things that could go wrong. How you destroy his knee the way they destroyed Burrow's knee last year, and he may not be the same person. You know what I mean?
Sure. Look at what's his name, RG3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what happened to him.
Perfect example. Yes.
I mean, he was on pace to be. He was rookie of the year. He was on pace to be the same player, and injury takes you out of everything. When that is, like you said, your superpower. I totally agree with that. All right, so Joe Burrow is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Matt Stafford is the
most
quarterback who has thrown the most interceptions in the NFL. In the end, what is most important, what is more detrimental to a team?
Interceptions.
Obviously, right? Turnovers. You can't turn
because it's all about possessing the ball, right? Like anytime you turn the ball over, that's one less opportunity for you to score and one more opportunity for your opponent to score. You can, case in point being that sacks are less important. I'm not saying they're not important, but less important is the fact that 2 weeks ago, Joe Burrow won a game after being sacked 9 times. Let Matt Stafford throw 9 interceptions on Sunday and see what the score is.
Yeah, 100%. Let him throw 2. I mean, it's so like if you look at that San Francisco game, he should have thrown 3 interceptions.
Yes.
And you're gonna get, so this is gonna come down to an Eli Apple, to a Jesse Bates, to a Von Bell, to these guys that when you get an opportunity, you can't Eli Apple it and let it hit your hands and fly off. You've got to take advantage of every single missed pass.
Have to. I mean, it's the San Francisco game versus Jimmy G where Jesse Bates dropped the interception and they went down and scored and the game was over, right? I mean, that was the ball game. Everybody talked all week long about Jimmy G will throw you one. He will absolutely throw you one. It is coming. It is coming. It is coming. We went to overtime, and I'll be daggone if there it was, right there.
Pick 6. I'm talking nobody in front of him.
Nobody. Ball game. Everybody go home.
Who was it in overtime last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever? Like first or second play, I want to say in overtime, somebody dropped one for the Bengals, didn't they?
No, Eli Apple dropped the one in Kansas City.
Yeah, it was Eli Apple in Kansas City. That's what I was saying. Yeah,
on the ball, hit him in the hands. He missed it, and then the very next play, he went deep, and Jesse Bates and Von Bell tipped drill for interception.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
By the way, Von Bell didn't even know he caught that ball.
No,
he just ended up in
pure reaction.
Pure reaction.
He wasn't even a reaction. His hands were just there. The ball landed there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Half my catches in the Turkey Bowl were that way.
I do got one for you though, Andre. I do want to go back to that game. A key play in that game was in overtime. Bengals get the ball back after the interception, and as they're moving the ball down the field, Joe Mixon is running and trips over his own man. And as he's getting up, throws the ball down, runs back to the huddle.
Yeah.
Whistle is not blown. And if you listen, I've re-listened to this play like 15 times. There's no whistle blown until right before I can't remember who it was on Kansas City goes to pick it up. It was right before that was picked up. Would you consider that in complete and total honesty?
Yeah.
If you're a referee and you see what happened on that play, did he give himself up?
Yes.
I 100% agree. And I said it at the time the play happened.
Yes. Like there is zero reason for Joe Mixon to let go of that football. Right. I mean, like he got pushed, he falls over, gets up, drops the ball, starts walking away. I mean, all of the key you have to take into consideration like the context clues of what's going on, right? It wasn't he dropped it and immediately was like, oh crap, and tried to dive back on the ball or like none of that. It's like, yeah, cool, let's go. Nah.
And it's not like when you're running for a touchdown and you start celebrating too early and you drop the ball as you're running in the end zone. You're still up. Nobody's touching you. You've never touched the ground. He went to the ground. Went to the ground.
Yep.
And as he was getting up, dropped the football, rolled over, dropped the football, ran back to the huddle.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
But tell me that's not a play that in Cincinnati history comes back to bite them in the ass on a normal basis.
I mean, come on, man. The Eli Apple drop is one that comes back and bites you, right? I mean, and under normal Bengal non-Joe Burrow years, that would be we're about to go. Eli drops it, and the next pass goes to the cheetah, who grabs it over 2 defenders, splits them both, runs in for the touchdown, and the game's over. Mm-hmm. That's Bengals life, typically.
Yep.
One of the ingredients, people talk about it all the time, one of the ingredients to every single championship team is luck.
Absolutely.
You have to have luck, and I would consider that one of the pieces of luck that the Bengals have had through the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, and even if LA wins on Sunday, they'll go back to the San Francisco game and look at the 2 or 3 interceptions that Matt Stafford absolutely threw and that San Francisco just didn't catch. Yeah. Like, it wasn't even like jump ball type of scenario where it's a 50-50 ball and nobody came down with it. Dude damn near just handed him the ball and he just dropped it. So, yeah, you know, you definitely need a little bit of luck.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's for sure. Nope. Nothing wrong with it.
Okay. So before you give a score, all right, because we're going to ask you that. Woo. Before you give a score,
okay,
who is the Super Bowl MVP? Which is going to probably kind of give away who you say is going to win, but or you can do score first. You can do score first and then MVP.
16-12. No, I was kidding.
Well, you make a lot of money.
15-12.
Yeah,
a lot of money that
way. You know what? I'm gonna go 27-23. Good guys. And I'm gonna say it's probably pretty easy. You know what? I'm going to go against the convention here. And I'm going to say MVP is Tyler Boyd.
Ooh.
And the reason why I say that, here's my reasoning behind Tyler Boyd. Yes, it's easy to say Joe Burrow. And if it's Joe Burrow, fine. It is what it is, right? Or if it's Evan McPherson because he kicked 17,000 field goals, fine. I'm trying to give you something a little bit different, but with rationale. So the rationale behind this is, all right, let's say they take Jalen Ramsey and stick him on T. Higgins. And let's say they double team Jamar Chase. That means Tyler Boyd has got to be kicking his dude's butt in order to get open. And if you go back and watch film, which I've had the opportunity to do, like watch the all 22s, Tyler Boyd is open often. Joe Burrow doesn't go to him often, but Tyler Boyd is open often. And if there's an opportunity or if there's one time that you can do things that you don't normally do to throw off the other team, it's the Super Bowl. Like, we got to all bets are off. Let's go, open.
You got something up your sleeve? There's no point in saving it. Don't save it. This is all that's left.
So Tyler Boyd goes for, 7 catches for $122 and 2 tutties. Let's go.
I love that. So I was just going to say, if you're going to choose Tyler Boyd, then you're thinking that he's going to have over 5 catches.
Yeah.
Because if you're as a wide receiver, you can't just catch the game-winning touchdown and be the Super Bowl MVP.
No.
That's going to go to the quarterback. But if that's the case, then I don't know, man.
And again, if he has 122 and 2 touchdowns, that means Burrow threw 2 touchdowns, and it'll probably go to Burrow. So I want to be very clear that if we're talking stereotypical, hey, who do you think is going to win MVP? 9 times out of 10, if the Rams win, it's going to be Stafford. If the Bengals win, it's going to be Burrow. But go a little different and then give you some rationale behind why.
I absolutely love it. I just love the fact it's the opportunity for you to give us one extra little thing, right? Give us one more little tidbit, right?
Yeah.
Break down one more little piece for us. Let us know why Tyler Boyd is going to be one of the X factors in this game. I love that. I love that. I need to subscribe to that all 22 thing, man. Everybody I know that watches that loves it. Me and Adam were talking about it last week a little bit.
It's pretty cool, man, to just be able to zoom in and like see what you want to see and like, oh, that's why this went this way or this. You're like, oh, or half the time the shot that you see in the screen and you're screaming at Eli Apple because he didn't cover whoever, but then you realize like Jesse Bates fell down and that was supposed to be his dude, but you never saw him because he was off screen, right? Those are the type of things I like to watch on Ultimate.
And by the way, credit to Tyler Boyd. If he's open like that much, a lot of wide receivers, when they're that open and then there's an incomplete pass or an interception thrown,
would be
and they're
pissed.
like, not even if it's not their way, it's to somebody else or whatever. They're like, come on. I'm working my butt off. I'm getting open all the time here. You're not even giving me opportunities. Credit to Tyler Boyd for not making a big thing about that, being a good teammate.
Boyd's never been that way. I don't think he'll. That's not the way he is.
No, no.
Anyway, go. What were you gonna say, Adam?
I was gonna, Chris, ask you what your prediction is for this scoring MVP.
Somebody sent me something. That did the Simpsons do something where they said the Bengals would win the Super Bowl like 20 years ago or something?
34-31 is what the meme is.
That's what it was.
If you
That's
look,
not
like
real,
Homer
right?
is a Bengals fan, but the screen cap is actually, I think it's the Bengals versus the Dolphins is what the actual cartoon was.
They take the white off of the Dolphin. Yeah. All right. So I did see. So that was a real thing that happened. I'm not going 34-31, but I am going to say that it's 3-point game. There's no part of me that doesn't believe that Evan McPherson doesn't have something to do with the end of this game, or a kicker doesn't have something to do with the end of this game. That kid has been involved in so many things and is as clutch as they come. I
will throw this out. The apparently SoFi Stadium is a fantastic place for kickers. And
it's going to be like 75 degrees or something.
Yeah, 75 degrees in the building, no breeze, and apparently people have watched kickers kick 58 yards. It would have been good from 65. So just know that kickers may have a pretty good day.
That's another thing that I was listening to this morning with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. They were talking about different prop bets, and one of them was, will there be a field goal made over 50 yards? And Keyshawn said no. Everybody else said yes because Evan McPherson's involved. But Keyshawn said no, and he said, this is the Super Bowl. Possessions mean too much. If you're kicking a 50-yard field goal, you're in a position where going for it on fourth down wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, that's saying
I don't know, man.
Fourth and short. I'm saying if Evan McPherson is my kicker, I'm taking those 3 points right now, and let's go play defense. Especially with the way this defense has played in the second half of games. This defense has been really, really good. We can't go into what happened against Kansas City, though. We cannot let them score 21 points in the first half.
That's what I said before the Kansas City game. Because I watched that play out 3 weeks before, and I said they cannot let Patrick Mahomes run out to a 17-point lead. They can't do that. And I'll be darned if they didn't do it. Even worse than what they did the first time, because the first time it was 14 points 3 times. This time they went down 18 and still came back and won. So as much as I want to say, yes, you are 100% right, you can't do that. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I guess. And
it's not ideal.
No, obviously. But did I write this down? Baldy's breakdown apparently takes that all 22, and he breaks down every game every week. And watching him on this, and I did watch a little bit of that on the all 22 of the Kansas City game. And once again, it comes down to something that we never had with Marvin Lewis, which is halftime adjustments. If we're losing at halftime with Marvin Lewis, we lost the game. If we're winning at halftime with Marvin Lewis, we won. Marginal Lewis. And I love and listen, Marvin Lewis was a good coach. Marvin Lewis did everything he could with the Bengals. They were at a point probably 3 years before he actually left that they probably needed to move on to the next step. Not because of he did anything wrong, but because of the fact that he had just run his course with the team.
It's just time, and that's okay.
Exactly, which would have been a great time for Hugh Jackson to step in at that point, but that was neither here nor there. The point of the whole thing is we as Bengals fans for a very long time have not been able to feel what it's like to come back at halftime and make adjustments and win. And at this point in time, there is nothing that scares me. Oh, yeah, tell them I said hi or good night. Was it good night? Good night. Sorry for keeping him up.
No,
So
you're all
long. I
good. All
so
good.
apologize.
All good.
Anyway, that's all I got. It's just nice to finally have that.
So, all right, before we actually get a score from you, Chris, you guys said a couple things that reminded me of something. You're good. Think about it for a second. How much of how much of does it matter that it's a home game for the Rams, basically? I mean, does it not matter at all?
So here's the thing to me, and I've actually, this is what I've thought of. Like, I've actually spent some time thinking about this. Like, as loud as Kansas City was, and I was at the Tennessee game, so as loud as that Tennessee game was, and as loud as I was at the Raiders game, as loud as it was for the Raiders when they were on offense, like, the Super Bowl is a whole different entity, man. It's a bunch of corporate sponsors. It's a bunch of big money people. Also, like to Chris's point, it's LA. It's more of a, show up and be seen red carpet type of thing than it is like diehard fans. You go and look at the images and the videos from the pep rally that was held here in Cincinnati, where there were 30 to 35,000 fans filling the lower bowl of the stadium versus the one they did in LA, where there may have been, a couple thousand people, maybe.
They said 3,000 fans is what they estimated.
Maybe. Because I've seen maybe. It looked like a high school pep rally in comparison. So, and that's not crapping on LA, the team. That's the fan base in general. They just don't, there's too many other things to do, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's just not the rabid fan base. Not only that, the Rams have moved around so much and changed and done different things that it's like, is this really your team? And are you, how dedicated are you to it? Where I've been a Bengals fan my entire life, right? And it's just different. So I don't think, to go back to your question of like home field advantage, yes, I think some advantages of sleeping in your bed all week, being already acclimated to the weather that the Bengals are going to have to adjust to. That's an adjustment, coming from 30
it's an easier adjustment
to 80, right? But so there are some perks from that standpoint, or advantages from that standpoint. But as far as crowd noise, like, it wouldn't shock me if there were more people rooting for not Bengals fans, but if there were more people rooting for the Bengals than there were rooting for the Rams in that stadium on that particular day. That wouldn't shock me.
Joe Burrow, for what he did at LSU, his Heisman Trophy speech, Heisman Trophy speech alone brought more Bengals fans. They're going to bring more Bengals fans to this game than anything. I have talked to so many people who could care less about the NFL but love Joe Burrow for what he did with the Akron food pantry, or whatever it is. Not Akron, but Athens food pantry and everything. That, like, people just love this kid. And
we went to Tennessee. There were, when I tell you, I probably saw 100 or more LSU hats only, like just LSU gear at the Tennessee game. We walked from our hotel to the stadium and ran into this group of like 10 dudes, all LSU gear, all with like Louisiana Cajun type accents. Oh no, man, we're just here to see Joe. We love Jamar
here
too.
To see Joe. Yeah,
like
Joe and Jamar.
That's it. It was absolutely amazing.
That is one thing that Cincinnati fans know what we have, and I think a lot of them know what we have in Joe Burrow. But there's something different that we've never seen in a player for the Bengals that Joe Burrow has. Magnetism or whatever you want to call it, that he brings. It's unbelievable, and it just gives me cold chills every time I think about it. I start getting a little quieter. I start, it just gets me.
Hey man, super excited. Even Gronk wants to come play here now.
There you go. Let's go. Hey, well, I thought we might need him, but apparently CJ's here. Did you go to the pep rally, Andre? This is one.
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I was like, it's way too cold outside.
It was cold. Did you see the clip though?
I
Did you
did.
see the clip? CJ walks out there with his knee brace,
Straight WWE, baby.
takes it off, throws it behind him. So before that, when they were announcing him, I was listening on 700 WLW, and Lap was saying, "Hey, he's actually jumping around, looking pretty good in his knee brace." And then he gets up on stage and throws it off behind him, and yeah, it goes. I could see him playing. It's like he said, this is the biggest game of his entire life.
Yeah,
he may never get to do this again,
or like sprinkled in throughout the game. Like I'm gonna do everything I can.
Yep,
for sure.
And I don't blame him, and I'm excited for him. So I need to pick a score, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna go 27-24.
Oh wow! All right.
Who's your MVP?
I'm Joe Burrow is the MVP, and it's not fair, but it's. You know what? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon because Mixon's not getting a lot of love, and if these sack happy LA Rams just decide to pin their ears back and think that they're just going to stop Joe in the first half, and Mixon can actually do something in the first half and come out, give me a touchdown or two in the first half, why not make him the MVP?
I don't disagree.
Adam?
All right, Mr. Schmidt, what you got?
I'm going to make this fast, guys. I started the year as the villain. I'm going to finish the year as the villain, 27-21 Rams. I have not
Stay consistent,
learned
baby. Stay consistent.
I've not learned my lesson apparently yet. And
hey, if it's one rule, don't bet against Joe Burrow.
You're right. You're 100% right. It does not make sense for me to pick this. And Aaron Donald is my MVP with 11 sacks in this game. And what is 11 a lot?
And the nosebleeds have just been canceled in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
A bad look for the only guy not wearing a Bengals shirt.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
All right.
I'm just going. I'm going with my
Look,
gut.
Man, I mean, clearly Vegas agrees with you, right? I mean, they're 4.5. The Bengals are a 4.5 point underdog. And I am not. Clearly, I said 27-23. He said 27-24. I mean, we all believe it should be a relatively close game, one score. It could go either way. I don't feel like LA is so dominant that they would run away with it. I don't feel that the Bengals are so dominant that they would run away with it. I think it's going to be relatively close. I think it'll be a one-score game unless something goofy happens, a pick six in garbage time or, something like that. But like outside of that, I think it'll be a one-score game and it'll be close one way or another and flip a coin and let's see what happens.
I can't.
The fact that we can flip a coin right now to see if the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl is good enough for me.
Yes, 100%.
Sure.
100%.
Take it. Rooting hard against myself again on that. So hopefully I'm wrong.
All right. So let's are you done with Bengals? Adam, you got any more Bengals questions?
We're good. We're good.
Andre, you have anything else to say about the Bengals?
Nah, man. Let's
jump into
gaming.
I'm so excited about this game.
Should be fun.
And before we get into our Saturday Night Live cast members, let's talk about our man. Something has happened and I'm going to say this to start this off. I don't know what week it was, but 1 week this year during the NFL season, we were talking about the Rooney Rule and coaches and things like that. And I straight said, the Rooney Rule, I don't even know why they have it. Because I didn't say it was a sham. I wish I knew exactly what episode it was. But it was basically exactly what all these people were saying, which is, I mean, if the owners already pretty much know who they want to hire, if you're making them interview somebody, that in not every case is that even helping that person who's getting interviewed. I'm sure it helps with maybe they can surprise somebody, but it's not fair to them. In that case, it hasn't been fair to them for a very long time. The Rooney Rule has seemed like it is useless to me. Not useless. Yeah, useless. I'll say it. It's useless to me because the owners are going to do what the owners are going to do with or without that rule. That being said, Brian Flores gets my favorite text message from an old man in the history.
My bad.
In my all-time favorite old man mistake, text the wrong Brian ever. My absolute favorite thing that's ever happened. And with that being said, it's not going to be enough for him to do too much, I don't think. I don't know what else he has on the Broncos, or if he has proof of anything from Miami's coach or ownership offering him money. And I know Hugh Jackson has joined this and saying the same thing in Cleveland. I don't know how much proof they have of those things. Sure. It's going to be tough to do anything. But the fact that this is out there and Brian Flores is putting his name on it is a huge step. Before we get too deep into being a black man and having things, because I don't think necessarily that a lot of this is 100% like these owners are racist. I'm not telling you that these owners are racist in what they're doing. I think that there might be a race factor involved in it because they're not comfortable with having a conversation and having a black man that they're not comfortable being around as their coach. But at the same time, what is the way to fix this then? To give these people Eric Bieniemy. Is there a way? Eric Bieniemy. I said I don't know what you do. Can you incentivize teams? Do you incentivize teams?
They were giving them draft picks for hiring coaches and African American GMs, and the owners still were like, "Nah, we're good."
So what's the answer? What's the answer for a guy like Eric Bieniemy or a guy like Brian Flores, who the most oddball firing that I've ever, or maybe now we know why he was fired because they wanted him to lose more games than he really did, and he said, "Screw you, I'm gonna go out and try to win what I can." Yeah. Well, and he was more hard-headed and didn't go with ownership, right? He was a team guy, and that's your name on the record of your team. So absolutely. I wouldn't do it either.
And ultimately, when it comes down to it, you're going to judge me based upon my win and loss record, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and being an African American coach, you just don't get as many chances as white coaches do. You don't get it. You don't get as many, and you don't get it for as long. Like that, the statistics will just tell you that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, but that's the case. So now you're telling me, hey, let's pad your loss stats, and then 2 years later, it's like, yeah, well, maybe you need to lose some more. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, maybe we need to mutually part ways. And like, what are we doing here?
I'm interested to see what proof they have of the money for games being lost. Because I was listening to a guy the other day who was a lawyer, and he was talking about at that point in time, it could become wire fraud.
Bro,
you're talking about a federal
huge
crime.
Huge.
They're going to lose their team. This is a federal crime that they 100%. Would be committing.
Yes.
So
I think about all the money that was like placed in bets, and the ramifications if this is true. And there is evidence, like right now, on the surface, as he said, right? But like, let's say he does have, hypothetically, a recording or has some sort of video evidence or email.
Just an email or text would be enough.
Right, whatever it is. Some piece of evidence that corroborates his story. Good Lord.
We're going to step into something even bigger than what we're all talking about on the face of this.
Yeah.
That you're talking about jail time. You're talking about teams being no longer owners that are 80 and 90 years old losing teams.
Yes.
You're talking about teams. Becomes way bigger. So let's get off of that. Let's get to what the real thing is, right? I am obviously a white 38-year-old man that,
you're white.
Believe it or not. That doesn't have to
learn
deal
something
with
new every day.
Doesn't have to deal with the things that this has anything to do with. So it's easy for me to come out and say, well, obviously the Rooney Rule, but the teams don't care about that. They'll interview somebody, but all you're doing is telling them they have to interview somebody that they've already got who they want to hire as a coach, probably before they ever interview anybody. In my head, as someone from it's easy for me to see that.
Yeah.
But then it's easy for me to say, why is Eric Bieniemy still an offensive coordinator in Kansas City? Yeah. So please tell me what are your thoughts on this, and what do you think about the whole deal?
So I think the Rooney Rule had good intentions from the beginning. In the spirit of the rule, it was intended to give those who didn't get an opportunity. Before it was, we are only interviewing white head coaches, and that's all we're interviewing. All right, let's throw this Rooney Rule in here that says, dude, you at least got to talk to a black person. Like, come on, man. Like, yep. You're being ridiculous. And when it first was implemented, it showed results. There were 7, 8, 9 black coaches when the Rooney Rule first began. The issue became those black coaches didn't perform the way that those white owners felt that they should, and weren't given the same amount of time as their white counterparts. And so therefore they were like, well, that didn't work. Okay, you're out. And so, then you have situations where, you got Tony Dungy leaving the Bucks to bring in white John Gruden to come in and win a Super Bowl. You've got right now today, we got one African-American head coach, you got one Lebanese head coach, and you got one Hispanic head coach. I'm pretty sure the league is not made up of 75% Lebanese players and or Hispanic players. So 75% of the players in the league are African-American. You can only have one African-American head coach. That seems a bit ridiculous to me. So the best players who know what they're doing, who are the most successful, have to be led by a white coach in order to be successful. Like, that seems silly to me. We have some super intelligent guys who are, you look at my man we were just talking about him down in Miami, the coach.
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores.
You look at Flores, team started off 1-7, had a ton of injury issues. You got Tua at quarterback who was beat up and injured, and Jalen Waddle's trying to figure out what he's doing. He took that team and brought them back to make them 9-8, and beat the New England Patriots. That's deserving of another year, man. Come on. Versus you look in Cincinnati and I'm only comparing coaching experiences. You look at Cincinnati where a guy can go 6-25-1 in his first 2 years and be given the third year with no problem. Right?
And part of that comes down to ownership too. The owners of the team are.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
And their tendency.
But then you look at dudes like Adam Gase who get an opportunity over and over again. Why? Why is that dude getting an opportunity? He looks dumb in his press conferences, right? Why is he a head coach? Eric Bieniemy sitting over here, or Byron Leftwich is sitting over here, or Leslie Frazier is sitting over here, or the defensive coordinator that was here for Vance Joseph. There are a ton of qualified coaches who just aren't getting an opportunity to be the head coach. And when you have rich, old, white owners, you want to surround yourself with folks that look like you, that make you comfortable.
That's the key.
I own a team. I can do what I want.
That's the key. So when does the ownership change? What do we have to do to make what has to happen? Where's that ownership change come from? Because I'm not saying that it should change, or that they should just take NFL teams away from people for reasons. It could start happening if some of these allegations are true. But if that's the case, that's 100% correct. Keyshawn Johnson said it best. He said, if I'm an owner, I'm hiring a black GM and I'm hiring a black coach. And he said, that doesn't necessarily make me a good owner. That makes me hiring people that I'm comfortable with. Yes. And he goes, and it's the same thing that happens there. You have some owners that are comfortable with hiring the best people, and that's what they want to do. But then there's a lot of owners who are only going to hire people that they're comfortable to be around. And that Keyshawn straight said it. He was like, I'd be a terrible owner because I'd hire people that I'm comfortable with. And that doesn't necessarily make us the best football team. And
Correct.
that's what's happening in the NFL
Correct.
right now.
But see, so to me, then it comes down to there has to be some sort of diversity training that is embraced. And if it's not embraced, it doesn't matter, right? So if I'm Keyshawn, like, fine, Keyshawn, if you want to hire a black GM and a black coach and all black staff and do whatever, you can do that if you want to, but is that the best for your team? Why not potentially black GM, white head coach, black offensive coordinator, Hispanic defensive coordinator, like, because it's data will show you, even in companies, the more diverse that you are, the better your company does, because you're bringing thoughts and ideas from all over. And all of these coaches are great, man. Right? They're very rarely you're going to run across some dude like that. He's just terrible. No, he's probably in a terrible situation or has a terrible quarterback or, ownership and he doesn't get along or whatever it is. But like, these guys are all pretty smart dudes. Football ain't that hard. So let's diversify the process so that multiple people are getting opportunity, but also realize, know, and understand that, again, 70+ % of the league right now is made up of African Americans. You can't tell me you can't find leaders in that African American community that are able to be head coaches outside of just Mike Tomlin.
Yep. So a thing that I think about all the time, and it's probably just it's probably the way a brain should work or shouldn't work. I don't know, but it doesn't make sense. I get the 70%. People keep talking about that. It's a big number. If I'm a GM, if I'm a coach, I don't care about anything. I just want the absolute best person to be in that situation. So why is it that hard to make this happen? I don't understand it. Dude, it's 2022.
You would think so, man. But I mean, racism still exists in America. Like, it sounds crazy.
100%. Like I said, I don't deal with it I don't deal with it every day.
Racism still exists in America. And there are multiple teams. There's only 32 teams in the league. There are multiple teams in the league who have never hired a black coach in their entire history. And most of them are in the South. Shocker.
Imagine that.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. My thing is, like you said earlier, the Rooney Rule was a great idea when it came out, and it worked, and it worked. Like any other rule, people find ways to get around things that they don't want to deal with.
Correct.
So people get around it. So where is our next step? What is that next thing? You already incentivize them with maybe an extra 5th or 6th round draft pick or whatever it is. Something to that effect. Is it money? Is it draft picks? Is it there's got to be, I don't know what it is. I don't have an answer.
So here's a crazy idea for you.
This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to hear out of your mouth. Here's a crazy idea for you.
Reverse the order of the draft so that the best teams get to pick the best players. So now you can't use African American head coaches to tank, right? Oh, I just hired him and they didn't know he didn't know what he's doing, but it's fine. We'll get him, and then we just keep losing. Or you can't incentivize a person to lose. No, you get the absolute best candidate that you can, and you put him in that position. And whoever finishes number 1 gets the first draft pick on all the way down.
Man, that is a fantastic. I love the premise of that idea. But once again, now you come into markets and money and things of that nature that make it really difficuld for the Bengals to ever get a top 5 pick ever again. Because they won't be able to feel
it. Or would the Bengals be put in a position where they are forced to do things in the past that they didn't do?
No. So in my thought process, if I'm Mike Brown right now and that becomes the new rule, my thought process now is the only thing I care about is making my scouting the best scouting department that we can possibly be. I want the best scouts because I have to be prepared to pick to win a Super Bowl or I'm sorry, to come in dead last and have a terrible team and pick last. So I better have the best scouts out there to get me the best diamonds in the rough.
Maybe.
And now I'm paying more money and I'm focusing more on scouting. That's just me off the top of my head. I'm not saying that's what would happen.
But again, it incentivizes you to be the best and to find the best people, not who you want, not who you feel comfortable with. No, I need the best because we're trying to win. And the only way we're going to win is to go get, only way we're getting Joe Burrow is to go win the Super Bowl this year. And then we'll figure it out.
That
you
also
want to trade,
helps.
you want to do whatever, fine. But
that also helps a lot of teams that need quarterbacks that are just a piece away, because a lot of people that are just a quarterback away are in the middle of the pack. And if you're at the top and you just won a Super Bowl, you probably don't need a quarterback unless you're Tampa Bay, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you probably don't need a quarterback. That quarterback drops a little bit. Now you're actually getting the best player in that draft. You're getting a defensive lineman.
And you can stop ruining quarterbacks because they went to a crap team who didn't know what they were doing and they ruined him.
And they start him right off the bat with nobody around him and put him in a position to fail, which is exactly what Hugh Jackson had happen to him, put into a position to fail. Brian Flores placed into a position to fail. It's if this comes out that they offered him $100,000 to lose, and then that Bengals per loss, and that Bengals Miami game goes into overtime, and then he ends up winning whatever he ends up doing. He won 5 or 6 games that year. Like
that's why he lost his job, because he won that game. And they were like, "Bro's going to the Super Bowl. You got to go, man. I told you to lose that game. You got to go."
It really does. It really does kind of sound like that. I mean, whether he's black, white, or some other color, if any coach in that situation is like, I mean, I don't know how
we could have had Joe Burrow, but you decided to win the damn game.
Yeah, and especially after you've won 7 of your last 8, and now you have an opportunity to win that last one. I don't know. I don't know how you not. I just can't imagine being a player or a coach and not competing. There's so much time and energy that goes into preparation for every single game. Are you just not gonna? I don't know. It's at the professional level. I just can't imagine anybody doing that. But
I don't think you'll ever find it. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's probably a coach out there that would take that money, but I think coaches know that their next job is based off that. When these coaches get these jobs at a Bengals or a Miami, they're taking that job for their next job. Yes. In my head, they're taking that job to get the next job. I want to turn this team into a mediocre team. Look what I did when I took a crappy team, turned them mediocre. What can I do with a mediocre team? I can make them great. So they're looking ahead. So there's no way these guys are doing that. That's why Flores is the guy he is. I just don't. I'm starting to come around to this slowly but surely. I'm starting to come around to this notion here. Listen. I'm a very gullible person. Like you can talk me into just about anything. I'm starting to like this idea.
But honestly, man, but legit, like I don't really know how you fix it, and I don't know that there is a fix in reality, right? Because the owners aren't changing, and unless you force change, who's going to force change? The owners. The commissioner works for the owners. So, there's nobody above the owners who is going to be like, oh, you guys need to be better and you need to do we own the team, we own the commissioner, we own the league.
Yeah. Who was the first black head coach?
Art Shell? Question mark?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But let's go back so when would that have been? 80s?
Let's go with that.
You while you're doing that, I'll talk about my point. And it's not a good one in any stretch of the imagination, but change is slow. Unfortunately, it should be faster. It should. I mean, at this point in time, we all know it's like my daughters right now, right? My daughters are 5. Good job, Art Shell, huh? Well done. What year?
Don't know yet. Hold on.
Okay. So, but it's like it's like my daughters. I don't know, or my son even. I don't know how to have a race conversation with them at 8 years old and 5 years old, because at this point in time, the kids in their class are their friends, and if I'm trying to figure out who they're talking about, hey, Maria said so and so. Oh, which one is Maria? You know, the little brown girl. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, that makes sense. It's the easiest way to point them out, right? But they don't. That doesn't mean anything to them. How, when does that conversation have to be put into place for a child to keep this moving in the right direction?
So I think it comes down to experiences, right? So what do you do when you run into something that makes you feel uncomfortable? So perfect timing and perfect example. Obviously, my son is African American. He was at school today, and some white young girl was having a conversation with him, involved in the conversation. And apparently she came from a different school district. She came from Princeton. And while she was at Princeton, she said she didn't hang around African Americans because they were not trustworthy and not good people to hang around. And my son was standing with his white friend. My son was like, I don't think you should say that. And his white friend was like, you absolutely shouldn't say that. And went and told and was being an ally and an advocate for my son.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes down to how do you educate your child when a situation like that occurs?
100%. That's my whole.
A 10-year-old kid doesn't just come up off the top of his or her head and say, African Americans at Princeton are not trustworthy. No, you've heard that somewhere before, right?
Yes.
You're parroting what you've heard either in your house or the babysitter's house or wherever it is. You've heard that somewhere before and you decided to repeat that. As parents, what are you doing? So one, your child isn't that child who's letting those things come out of their mouths. But then two, what are you doing when the teacher calls and says, hey, your son was a part of this situation. He heard it, came to me. You're doing a great job. What conversation do you have with your kid? And I think that's what it's about. Love everybody. Start with the default, hey, judge a person on their character, not on their color.
Yeah, right. And that's easy. That's easy because in my case, it's easy for me because in my case, we live in Delhi. All right. Yeah. It's not like I'm in the African American capital of the world where I live. Right. So, but they go to school with kids of color, Hispanic, be it whatever. But my kids to this point just describe them as, he's brown. He's the brown one, right? Which is there's nothing wrong with that in any way. No. Can be their best friend or somebody they don't like for whatever reason. But at what point in time, because at some point in time, these owners in the NFL had something happen to them or had something said to them that made that uncomfortableness, right? And most of them are older, so
yeah, they were all alive in the 50s and 40s when
that's going to start turning. I like to think that'll start turning, but when this happens, Parker watches ESPN. Most of the time, he has zero idea what anybody is talking about. I am not equipped. I don't know that I'm equipped. I'm sure I am. I don't know how to have that conversation yet. Yeah. Like it's never come up, so I don't know how to make it. Do you wait until it comes up, or do you nip it in the bud? And he's 8 years old.
I don't think it's a matter of necessarily nipping it in the bud, man. I think again, if an experience comes up, address it, have that open conversation, open dialogue. If you have questions, reach out to an African American friend of yours and be like, hey, this is kind of what happened. What are your thoughts on this? Hey, here's kind of my thoughts on this. I think the more we talk and the more we communicate as people, the better off we will be. Just
I mean, that couldn't be any more true, because I think of back when me and Adam were kids, and growing up, wherever we grew up, whether it be Cheviot, Westwood, Price Hill, into Delhi, wherever we all slowly maneuvered our bodies through growing up, dealt with a lot of different things. I don't ever remember having any conversations about black or white or anything like that with my parents or anybody. That was never a conversation. It was just something that you just develop who you become freely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be quite like that. I think it needs to be busted into somebody's head maybe at a younger age. Like, all right, let's just make it really clear. You're going to hear these things. You're going to hear this. We're all the same people, right? Like, I still have, maybe that's what
and
this
I think
conversation
you can,
for me is.
have, depending on the relationship you have with your child, I think you can have that conversation that you just had just now. Hey, you're getting older. Your circle of friends is expanding. The number of people you're running into is growing. You're going to hear things that I'm not comfortable with you hearing, but unfortunately, that's just the way the world works, right? And so therefore, when you hear these things, one, this is what those things mean, and the hate and fear that are behind them. And this is why we don't go in, like, that's not us. That's not who we are. That's not who you are. That's not who I am. And that's not who I'm raising you to be. Right?
We have, I mean, this is something that I actually, it has come up, I guess, technically. We've talked about it on the podcast, Adam. Parker is a huge LeBron James fan. Loves LeBron James. LeBron James is notably very vocal about his beliefs in different things. Has said some things that he probably wanted to take back, and has said some things that were damn true that a lot of people didn't like. But where there are people in his life that when they see him in a Lakers or LeBron shirt, tell him LeBron sucks and say all kinds of stuff. Not because LeBron, he always comes home. Why do they say LeBron sucks? Right now, my answer is right now, buddy, they used to say that about Michael Jordan. It's because he beats everybody.
Yeah.
They just don't like him because he beats their team. Because I don't know how to have that conversation yet.
Yeah,
I'm not prepared to put him into politics at 8 years old.
So I think it depends on what's the context of what those kids are saying. LeBron sucks because he said yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's something to address. If it's just LeBron sucks, whatever. Brady sucks. I hate Brady. Like, Brady won
they say it because
7 Super Bowls in 10 years. Like, okay, yeah, we all hate Brady. Fine, but
they're telling them because their dads tell them that LeBron is terrible. You're not allowed wearing LeBron shoes. You're not allowed liking LeBron. I had to tell a dad, don't talk about that stuff around here. Like, Parker likes LeBron. Just let him like LeBron for being a great basketball player. Leave that out of it. He's 8 years old.
Right.
Because he doesn't know that part of it. He doesn't hear when LeBron says something about some social issue. He watches LeBron play basketball games and he sees how great he is at that. Record the games
for him so he can watch them at breakfast.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let him be
losing again.
8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I want him to just be an 8-year-old kid, but at some point in time, like you said earlier,
conversations are coming.
Things get said, man. It's coming.
Conversations are coming.
So
I got a 13 going on 14-year-old. Conversations are coming, bro.
Yeah,
this is what it is.
Man, especially at that age, jeez. So just really quick to put a bow on the Brian Flores stuff, is his lawsuit, do you see it making a significant change?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it may do away with the Rooney Rule, because, or at minimum, at least find a way to tweak it in such a way that, it's more useful than what it in its current iteration, right?
That's what will happen.
Because clearly in its current iteration, you can. Oh yeah, did we bring in that black dude? No? Okay, make sure we get that black dude in here. Check that box off.
It's two,
let's all get drunk Let's all get drunk and go to Miami and go interview somebody real quick.
Exactly right. So clearly that's not working. So, you can tweaks to the Rooney Rule. Again, I don't know what those tweaks would be, but obviously it needs to be addressed and changed in some way. Potentially doing away with the Rooney Rule altogether, replacing it with something. I don't think they, in my opinion, I don't think they would just take it away, because clearly that also doesn't address the overarching issue. But just focusing on the piece of, being African American. Now, the money piece of paying for losses and things, that could cause that dude to lose his team. The NFL wants no parts of being associated with somebody like that, and they will absolutely force him to sell that squad. If that, again, proven true, evidence, all that stuff comes together, he will lose his squad. But outside of that, do I see it making any real tangible change to what's happening? No, you still got the same owners. You still have the same pool of candidates that they like to recycle. I mean, now there's two. Now we got Lovie Smith.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody can we all be clear and say, why is Lovie Smith getting another chance?
Right. Why?
Well, have you seen his beard? That thing looks good.
Oh man,
that thing looks good.
Can I tell you this? We're gonna talk about black people real quick.
I would hire Lovie Smith just based on his looks right now, because I love that beard.
He was like
snowy white.
Sold. New head coach. Done.
If I could be a black man and age like Andre and have a beard like Lovie Smith, give it to me all day long, brother.
Dad, wrap it up, boys. New head coach.
One more question I thought was interesting that I didn't think about until I just read something a little bit ago. Just today, I think it was. Lovie Smith was hired by the Texans, right, to be their new coach. While Brian Flores made a statement about, about being happy, that there was another person of color that was hired as a head coach. Great. But they didn't hire me now because of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
So now, so my question is to you is, if you're an owner, a GM, whoever makes the decision on hiring a head coach, can you hire a guy that is currently suing the NFL to be your head coach?
No,
there's no.
He's kind of pigeonholed himself now, hasn't he?
I mean,
he made that decision. He put his name 100%. On it. I think that's the best thing he could have ever done.
It's the whether you agree or disagree with how he did it and what he stood for, all that. It's the same general principle as Colin Kaepernick, right? You knew once that became an issue, you weren't getting another job as a quarterback in the NFL. Like, you just weren't. So embrace it. Do what you need to do. Figure out what the next step is in your life. Like, be an advocate. Do whatever it is you want to do. You're not getting another NFL job. And there's no way, at least as things are currently laid out, that Brian Flores will be a head coach in the NFL anytime soon, if ever.
I'll tell you, I just thought of something, and I agree with you, but I just thought of something that would make sense to me here. And maybe it goes along with the same thing, the question I just asked, but maybe the lawsuit has to be dropped in order to do this, but maybe it makes the most sense to bring Brian Flores on to work for the NFL, to be kind of I don't even know right now if they have like some sort of
diversity task force consultant
inclusion committee, something like that, for him to be on that or head it or whatever, to try and come up with to put a team together. Maybe he's the guy tasked with that, to put a team together to try to make some sort of change.
Kickback or pushback to that would be, if I'm him, I don't want that. I want to be a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm not here to fix, no offense, like, I'm not here to fix your problems. I'm a head coach. That's what I do. I'm not here to be on a diversity committee and figure out what your problems are and help you resolve those. I want to coach football, and I'm damn good at it, and I deserved an opportunity.
And you can be on that diversity committee and be a head coach. I feel like there should be at least a coach or two on that every single year, whether it's him or
competition committee type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you're going to have players, you're going to have coaches, you're going to have different people in on stuff like that. So,
But and fair enough, he wants to be a head coach, and it seems his resume seems like he should get a chance. Right. But he did. We just talked about it. He did just make the choice to basically not be a head coach as long as this is going on.
Yep,
so
100%.
Which one do you? I mean, I feel
he
like
knows what he did. He knows what he did. He's already said it. He's already came out and said it.
Ultimately, he is. If you take him at his word, he's falling on the sword, so that things can be better for people that come after him.
Exactly what he
and
said
that's
when he
and
first
that's every marginalized person in this country that has decided enough is enough, whether it's women's suffrage for the right to vote, whether it's Rosa Parks taking a seat and deciding not to get up, whether it's Dr. Martin Luther King marching down in the streets, whether it's gay pride and this is what we're doing, like whatever it is, at a certain point in time, that's enough. I'm gonna take a stand, and to heck with the consequences. This is what I'm doing. And unfortunately for him, the consequences, you'll probably never be a head coach in the NFL again. But for him, if the payoff is at some point this changes and that the most deserving person gets the opportunity to get the job, that's what I want. And I'm willing to sacrifice who I am and what I've done to this point so that Andre can be the next head coach somewhere and is given that opportunity.
Cincinnati.
Where he wouldn't be, if I hadn't have done what I did. So
I when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, you got all the different sides coming, blah, blah, blah. But everybody said he'll never be a quarterback again. I ain't gonna lie to you. For the next couple of years, I thought he was gonna get a shot, but he didn't. And right now in my head, I'm like, Brian Flores is gonna get another shot. The dude is good. And right now, the more I think about it and the more I compare that, when you brought up Colin, the more I compare that, the more that he just
you're not gonna make the league look. You're not gonna make the league look stupid, man.
He's suing every one of the people that would be hiring him.
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Yes.
If someone sues me, I'm not hiring them.
No.
I mean, that's plain and simple. That's easy, man.
Maybe he'll be the next commissioner. Maybe that's the start.
Man, I'll tell you what. You want to talk about make it? Hey, you want to? Now that.
Yeah, but who puts the commissioner in place? The owners?
The owners do. Yeah. But are you kidding me?
Yeah.
If I can sit
Never
back,
mind.
if I can sit back and make $250 million a year to basically call kids' names out once a year.
I'll tell you what, though, I mean, I have no idea who is right underneath or right by Roger Goodell in the front office there, but
Troy Vincent is up there somewhere, right?
I was going to say Merton Hanks, I think, has been a pretty high up executive for a while, hasn't he? Or maybe he's like the disciplinarian, or doesn't he give out?
Yeah, I don't remember. But I think Troy Vincent is like pretty high up, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right. Yeah,
quick circle back. Art Shell, first African-American head coach, 1989.
89. There you go.
That ain't that long ago, boys.
Last time the Bengals won the Super Bowl.
But that was what I was when I first said that. That was to the point of what I was saying, right? Change ain't fast, and you get into a old white man's league like the NFL. Change ain't gonna be fast, right? So we might have, went from one coach in 1989 to what was it 1990 whatever 1998 when the Rooney Rule came out.
Yeah,
90 2000 somewhere in there,
yeah.
And jumped up to 7 or 8 coaches.
Yeah.
And now we're at 2. When you look at it, that percentage it moved greatly from 2 to 8, obviously. But from that time of 8 to where we are now, it fluctuated and stayed pretty well the same. Maybe it moved up times, maybe moved down. Well, it probably never moved up.
It never went
8,
above 8.
I was gonna say 8 feels like as high as it's ever been. But you know, it feels like it's time then. Then it's time. There has to be another Rooney Rule. There has to be another Rooney Rule. There has to be another something.
Flores rule.
A Flores rule. That's going to be what this is. It's going to be what it comes out to be.
Could be.
Yeah.
That old
All
white
right.
man.
Anything else on that? I don't want to cut it short or anything like that.
No. I'm good.
All right. We have got something.
Andre, I appreciate everything, buddy. Yeah. I appreciate the conversation.
Yes.
For sure. And I appreciate all the Bengals insight as we always do. But this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun right now.
Yeah.
Let's start it and end it with some fun stuff.
Yes.
Most people have at least seen Saturday Night Live over the years. I feel like everybody has their favorite era. It's usually like when you're in high school or teenage years or something like that as you're growing up. Certainly for me, obviously the Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, all those guys in that era are my favorite. But we're talking characters, Saturday Night Live characters. So not the actual actors, not the actual people. We're talking characters. Oh, did you do?
Follow the rules.
Brother, it's never been
the rules. Chris is going last.
Go back to you can go back to every single report card I've gotten from the time I was in first grade. I was probably talking while Adam was talking, number one. So I didn't hear it totally. I guarantee that. And on Zoom, that never works because I talk over both of you all the time. And it sounds terrible on Zoom, but it is what it is. I apologize. Listen, my first grade teacher started this whole mess trying to tell me I got to stop talking. So I became a salesman because I get to just talk all day.
All right, Adam, you go first.
Okay. This was way harder than I even thought it would be because there are so many that I've forgotten about. And then you start searching, you start going through Google or YouTube or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about that. So many years of Saturday Night Live skits. And there are some that happened like once or twice ever, not even like recurring all the time, that you're like, that's one of my favorite things ever. And you remember it forever. So this is really, really hard. I'm going to start with one that's going to be, it feels hacky because I feel like this is going to be on everybody's, but Matt Foley. Matt Foley is you know, everybody knows Matt Foley
on the list.
All right. So Chris Farley's probably most famous character on that. I think the one that made me laugh the most, more than that, was Chris Farley playing himself, a version of himself on the Chris Farley show. They only did 2 or 3 versions or 2 or 3 instances of this. He did one with Paul McCartney. He did one with Jeff Daniels. And those are the only 2 I remember off the top of my head. But he just did this like really nervous guy that had an interview show, and he was a horrible interviewer. And it was all like, he would ask Paul McCartney, like, you remember when you were in the Beatles? And Paul McCartney was like, yeah. He's like, that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Let's go.
I went back. I've always loved those. And I went back and watched a couple of them and just laughed my brains out. So funny. I'm putting that one on there. Bob Swirsky's, or sometimes it was his brother, Bill Swirsky's super fans, the Chicago Bears guys sitting around the table. They did it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
They did one.
John Goodman was always part of that.
It was 88 or 80, no, maybe 91, maybe when Michael Jordan hosted the first time, and they did one there. And I've watched that one 6 million times in my life, but they did that a bunch. And it was, John Goodman was on, what's his name? Went from Cheers, was always on it. Mike Myers was one of the guys, Robert Smigel.
Norm.
Those were always good. And then I had so much trouble with this last one, but I watched a few of these, and her name is Junice Maharel, I think, something like that. So they always did it on the Lawrence Welk show. And it was, they did the Lawrence Welk show, and they had these like 4 sisters that were
tiny hands.
Yes.
So creepy.
Yes. It was so weird. And I went back and watched some of those, and they were unbelievably funny. Kristen Wiig is the person who played that girl.
That's what I was just thinking of. I was looking her up just now because
so
of
creepy.
That.
So creepy and so funny. They would have like a guy sing a lot of times, and it would be a different guy, but they would like do like like they would kind of play off of each other, and each girl would come up like one at a time, and they'd be like flirting through song, and then and she would always be the last one, and she'd say something like, I found a dead rabbit and I put it in my bathtub and then ate it later, or something like as part of the song. It was just the craziest, weirdest stuff. And she was like the rest of them were like good looking and everything, and she was like had the real high forehead and the tiny hands and the messed up teeth. So those are I'm putting her on that last one. There are so many I could put on there, but really funny. What do you think? What do you think?
It looks like Chris is still struggling over there. So I'll go next. I'm gonna go right off the top. I gotta go Mr. Robinson and Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood and Eddie Murphy. Like straight classic. Like I struggle. I was like maybe Gumby. I don't know. He's pretty funny and pretty classic, but like Mr. Robinson, hilarious. Like still to this day, people will come to my house and knock on the door, and I'll turn to my sons and I'll be like, "This is how we answer the door in my neighborhood." Like all the time. It's just funny to me. So, Mr. Robinson, Daryl Hammond playing Sean Connery on Jeopardy.
Oh my God.
Like absolute money. Because you put Matt Foley, I'm gonna change and do Alec Baldwin as Pete Schweddy. And they're talking about his sweaty balls, and I can't remember the 2 ladies' names who are in it, but like they played like straight deadpan, and it was like, oh, your balls are great. Like, there's just like moist and tender, and like, man, this is hilarious. And then finally, I'm a big Tracy Morgan fan, and he does this skit called Astronaut Jones. And Astronaut Jones is like, he lands on this planet, and there's always like some smoking hot chick, right, who comes out, and she's in like some little jumpsuit type thing, and she's talking to him, and she's like, "We'd like to welcome you to our planet." And he's like, word, dig, yeah. But just absolute classic, like Tracy Morgan. Absolutely love it. Those are my 4.
Nice, very nice.
This sucks so bad. So the first thing I wrote down was Gumby, and then I wrote Mr. Robinson afterwards. So I'm keeping Gumby then, since you put Mr. Robinson on there. And Chris Kattan, the Mr. Peepers, when he's that whatever thing with the giant monkey ears, thing, like a monkey thing.
Yeah.
I can't stop laughing at that. I don't know how Will Ferrell makes it through those skits. I don't know how Chris Kattan makes it through those skits, which I don't think he really did.
Chris Kattan never makes it through a skit, ever.
He just shoved more stuff in his face so he wasn't laughing. But that Chris Kattan, that missed a lot of stuff Chris Kattan did was good. Kristen Wiig I just wrote down because she's on my all-time favorite. She's one of my favorite SNL characters ever. Everything she does is hilarious. She can keep a straight face when no one else can, and make the craziest eyes and freak me out. I could imagine sitting next to her and her doing those goofy things. So I don't know what to put on that. I'll go with the tiny hand person thing.
That's so weird.
And then, from there, it's tough for me, right? I mean, obviously, I wrote down Matt Foley. I wrote down the strippers with
Chippendales dancers.
Dancers.
Yeah.
Coneheads, the whole Conehead thing that turned into an actual movie. With Dan Aykroyd. See, and so originally I had Will Ferrell written down because I love Will Ferrell, but I started going back and I'm like, the cheerleader stuff wasn't my favorite stuff, but it was good. It was good. Everything he did was good, but there was nothing that was
I almost put
best.
Although the one Will Ferrell one that really cracks me up is the cowbell.
Oh, more cowbell.
The only I got a fever and the only prescription is more cowbell. Like, pretty funny.
So the other person I had on here was Dana Carvey because I thought Dana Carvey was one of the best SNL characters ever. And that's what so after you said that, I immediately wrote down Church Lady next to it.
Church Lady.
So I guess I'm going to go with Gumby, Kristen Wiig.
Anything.
Mr. Peepers and Church Lady because I got thrown off on this. Oh, why?
I didn't read the instructions.
I should have been more clear. I
went back and listened to the podcast, and I was like, "Yeah, that's right. It was SNL characters." And I heard SNL characters, and I just cast members. Like that's what I typed into my phone.
Yeah.
I even clarified with Adam because I was like, "Wait, are we talking characters? Or are we talking actors?" And he was like, "No, absolutely characters." I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah.
Note to self, Adam Schmidt. Adam, note to self. If you are ever telling one of our guests and they ask you to clarify something and we didn't clarify it on the podcast,
with you.
Clarify it with me at the same time.
I got you.
I guarantee I didn't catch it.
There were a couple. I wrote a bunch of stuff down that I was trying to decide from, but a couple things that going back and watching, I'm like, can't do that one anymore.
No,
can't do that one anymore.
Oh no!
Now, Pat,
90% of the 70s and 80s.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
Pat, you can't do anymore.
Oh no!
The ambiguously gay duo.
No.
Chris mentioned that last week.
Last week, our thing was we did the Mount Rushmore of adult cartoons or adult-ish cartoons. So I said, well, it wasn't like an every week thing. But would ambiguously gay duo count? Because that was hilarious.
Not anymore.
It was really funny.
It still is hilarious. Bullcrap is still hilarious. Bullcrap is still hilarious. I talked to hey, I got a gay friend. I talked to him about the ambiguously gay duo. I got a black friend. I feel like that's what I'm going with right there.
That's the thing. You're allowed to do anything if you have a friend.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He says it's funny. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Man.
I'm sorry. The ambiguously gay duo was flipping hilarious.
That whole concept was like, wow. Wow. Just
wow. They had a few of those little skits back on our day. Yeah. Well, I guess, you're Andre, how old are you? 40?
45.
42? 45? So, yeah, about the same. When that was kicking, dude, they had a couple really funny, like cartoonish little things that they did there. But the ambiguously gay duo, that's got to be a top 10 skit of all time.
Yeah, a couple friend of mine, a heterosexual couple friend of mine, did that and dressed up as the ambiguously gay duo for Halloween one year. Absolutely hilarious.
I would have to make
Ace and
I got to make the car. I have to make the car. I have to make the car.
Car's the worst part. You can't make
the car. That's the best part. Just a giant penis.
Terrible. Just terrible.
The giant twig and balls. Oh, jeez, oh Pete. All right,
well,
Andre.
What a good note to leave Andre on.
Brother.
Thanks for joining us for this Bengals podcast. Twig and balls. Signing off.
Well, sounds like Adam knows what he's going to call it. Usually I say twig and berries, so twig and balls is way funnier.
I might just do the symbols, like for a curse word. I might just do that.
Yeah.
There you go.
This one got real sweaty.
Andre, is there any kind of bet that we could possibly make to get you to possibly sing on this podcast? On this Bengals game. Sorry, let's make it clear.
It's like random bets. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm holding a number behind my back. If you guess it wrong right now, you have to sing a song now. We're just trying. We're just gonna keep working on.
We want to hear the pipes. I say we make a bet. I say we all make a bet on the final score of the game that we set.
I already said 27-23 is my score.
Yeah, and I said 27-24.
And he said
Closest without going over.
He prices righted you.
Yeah, closest without going over wins. How about that? No, we'll figure it out next year. We'll make it happen next year.
Yeah, we'll just do the same thing next year. And I
like it. I like it.
All right,
boys, let's get this dub, man. Come on, let's get this.
Let's do it, baby. Let's go. Hey, we are going to talk to you after the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
I don't know when it'll be, but it'll be after Super Bowl. Win or lose, I want to talk to you about the Super Bowl and what it meant to you and what you did and where you were at and all that fun stuff. Until then, everybody, thank you, Andre Edwards. And as always, brother, we appreciate it.
Nothing but love, boys.
Thanks, Andre.
All right. Thanks, boys.
All right. See you.
See you, bud. Andre Edwards. I'll tell you what, buddy.
Always a great time.
Always a great time. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We got off topic a little bit when we got into the Brian Flores thing, and I apologize. That was my fault. I turned it into a personal thing, but that's all right.
It's all part of the conversation. All part of the conversation. There's no wrong way to go there, I don't think. But look, we took care of almost everything now already. So we've got one more thing to touch on, you and me, and let's do it. Let's talk about the comedy special that we watched this week.
Let's talk about the comedy special that we watched this week.
Okay.
Who are the guys' names? It's all Are You Garbage, the podcast, but what are the two guys' names? The big fat guy I've heard of before. Yeah.
H. Foley and of course, when I have to know it, I'm not gonna.
Anyway, I'll start off.
Go ahead. I'll think of it in a second.
Maybe I watched the wrong thing. Was it like a half an hour long?
Yeah, you didn't watch the wrong thing.
Okay. So this isn't a comedy special, right? This is just some guys up there talking about people. This is obviously what they do at the end of their little bit when they come on stage. They have people in the audience email them stuff that makes them feel like trash or garbage or whatever.
I think this is all they do.
You think it's all they do?
Yeah, because that's their podcast basically, except they have somebody in studio. They have a guest, like another comedian on or whatever, and they talk about that same thing.
Yeah, but it seemed like when they segmented all these and it was like, all right, they were getting ready to start doing this. And it was like a short period of the actual comedy special in each comedy special. I don't know. I could be wrong. That's just the way I took it.
You might be right. I just thought they were doing kind of the same thing in a bunch of different places, and they just took the best ones. I don't know. Maybe they did do a whole regular show and then did this.
And then just so anyway, some of these weren't that bad. Like some of these weren't that bad. Am I that big? Am I that much garbage that I didn't think it was that bad?
You are garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
Adam's like, brother, I've been doing this podcast with you. I've known you for 38 years. Yeah, you're garbage.
No. Yeah, I agree. Some of these are funny.
The concept is good. I love the concept. It's not the normal thing that we do. It's going to be hard for me to put a number on it because they did not do any comedy. Maybe 1% was them kind of coming off the top with saying something, but it wasn't much at all. It was a whole bunch of, oh my gosh, yeah, you are garbage. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. There's a bunch of that. Some of them were really funny. Don't get me wrong. Can I tell you, my question for you is, do you have an Are You Garbage or an Am I Garbage because of email that you would have sent them? Do you have anything in your life that you feel like you could put on there?
You know, I was kind of trying to think of some of that stuff while I was watching it. I'm sure there are things growing up, you know, that we did that those guys would consider, you know, I don't know.
Like, I feel like your sister could say, if I dip my graham cracker in orange juice or apple juice.
Yeah, that's a good example.
I just remember her doing that once. So can I tell you the one that?
Oh, didn't you and my brother do that?
Maybe it was me and your brother. I know I did it just because I did it at your house. I just remember doing it at your house. For some reason, I thought your sister did it when she was like a little baby. And then we all like laughed about it. I guarantee I did. I put mayonnaise on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at Aunt Peggy's house one time. I had Aunt Peggy do it just because I said I love mayonnaise and they dared me to do it. And I told Aunt Peggy I wanted it. So she said, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." So she just made me one and I ate it. So that might make me garbage.
And how would you rate it?
The sandwich? Not good. It didn't.
Okay.
Those flavors don't go together.
Okay.
At all. But
those are good examples. So you're coming up with them already.
So the one thing though that basically I'm garbage is what's coming out of this. The one thing that comes up for me, and it has been brought up by every cousin or anyone that's ever been to my house growing up. If you get a gallon of ice cream and your whole family of 4 or 5 just uses one spoon while they're sitting down eating ice cream, are you garbage? Because that is the way we ate ice cream in my house. Oh no, not one spoon. We all had a spoon, but we all ate out of the gallon of ice cream. Just there were no bowls. You just reached in there and got some ice cream out.
That's not as bad as one spoon, but still pretty gross to a guy like me.
One spoon would be way grosser, but no, we would all get a spoon and you take a bite and then you dip it back. It's like a double dip, or we probably Glazoon type dipped, if that's a number. I feel like that's a bless you number, but either way. No, but that's the first thing I thought of when I was doing that. I was like, oh man, I could do this all day long. This is easy. So I don't know, man. For what they did, it was really funny. I don't know how to give them a number. I haven't given them a number yet. So I'm going to go just what's in the middle, 2.5.
Okay. All right.
I don't think they're bad. I think it was funny. I laughed. I thought it was good, but they didn't do any stand-up comedy. They just read what people did. That was it.
Yeah. I feel like they riffed a decent amount on it though. And
they're just giving the weirdest things in the world. It's not like they're just randomly looking at somebody and go, "What do you do for a living?" And the guy's like, "I'm an accountant." That ain't easy to mess with, right? Like, no, these people are giving them the most garbage, weird things they can come up with. That's easy to start making fun of.
You think so?
They're giving it to you. They froze their dog. I could start joking about that right now for an hour. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, you got to be funny. I mean, I feel like those guys,
is not at them. The laugh is at the dumb thing that was just said to them.
I think it's both to me. I think it's the funny thing and their reaction to it, and then saying something about it. Especially Kevin Ryan is the other guy, by the way. But H. Foley, the bigger guy, I feel like I feel like they're both funny guys. But H. Foley, I feel like is a little bit funnier. I feel like just his little.
It's because you get his reaction better. You get more of a reaction from him because the other guy's reading it. And he's never heard him, so he has to give a reaction.
Yeah,
to me, that's more difficult than just standing there looking at it and going, "Oh, geez, Pete, this is bad," and then reading it and then making fun of the person that said it because you asked them to tell you the trashiest thing about them, and then making fun of them for being trashy. Like, that's easy to do. You ask them to do that for you.
Yeah. I don't know. You mentioned the dog in the freezer one. That was funny. And you mentioned something kind of similar. There was somebody that his whole family used the same towel napkin as a napkin.
Or same, dish towels and napkin.
God, that's just foul. Somebody abandoning
the big
a car.
Guy said,
abandoning a car at the mechanic when it's going to be too expensive to fix. You just leave it there forever.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. Once again, we're laughing at the things that people told them. We're not laughing at anything they said.
No, but I did. I laughed at a lot of the stuff they said about it.
Yeah, because they were.
It's not. I don't think it's as easy as you think it would be to stand up there on the stage in front of all those people and they give you something and say something really funny to make everybody laugh. I don't know. And it's not like everything they said was really funny, but it, I think it's harder than, I don't know. I like
comedy. I think comedy is harder than what they did. I think comedy is way harder than what they did.
You mean the traditional stand-up comedy where you write jokes and that kind of thing? I'm not so sure about that because they don't prepare for this. They don't.
Yeah,
I mean they do it as a podcast.
My point is they're asking people for the trashiest thing that these people can think of.
Mm-hmm.
That is the whole point of the joke. So it's, hey, here's something really weird that I do. Oh, that's easy to laugh at. You can just laugh at that. Or say, oh my gosh, you're trash. Yes, you are. And it's funny, blah, blah, blah. But you're asking people to give you almost all of it. It's 80% of it.
See, I think of it as a funny premise. I think of that part of it as a funny premise.
It's definitely a funny premise. I love that. It is, but I don't think it's comedy. I mean, stand-up comedy. It's comedy because it's funny as all get out. But when I think of stand-up comedy, I think of a totally different aspect.
It was more of a live podcast, I would say. And I didn't realize it was actually like that. I actually thought they stood up there and
it was funny. Don't get me wrong in any way, shape, or form. I mean, like, I love this idea of, hey, let's talk about the trashiest stuff we can possibly find. My point is, I think a stand-up comedy set is more difficult to do than what they did. So it's hard for me to grade it on that level. I'm not, once again, here I am talking down about them. I'm not what they do. I would be in there laughing my face off at these things.
Yeah.
And I would probably have emailed a few things that I've done.
Yeah, if I think about it, hard enough or long enough, I'm sure I can come up with a bunch of stuff that, especially growing up, your standards are a little bit lower. At least mine were. Even stuff that everybody, drinking out of the hose, like hot water out of the hose in the middle of the summer when you're just outside playing or whatever. We actually, one that I did think of while we were doing that, we used to, so I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do. We had this like aluminum awning over our back steps or whatever. And they had these, like, the pillars were just like thin aluminum rails or whatever. And my mom would tie the hose, like squeeze the hose, tie like a rag or something around it to hold it closed, and then like hang it on like these little, they were supposed to be like little designs or whatever, aluminum designs or whatever in the thing, and hang it up there. And then it's just like the hose spraying and we just run through the hose. That's kind of I don't know. It's a little bit of, it's like a hillbilly sprinkler or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It was like a decorative deal. It was like a decorative part that she hung it off of. I know.
Yeah. But just running through the hose and, doing something like that. Anyway, I gave it a 3.8. I laughed. It was something different. Maybe I just liked that it was something a little bit different. But I'm excited to get back to regular stand-up comedy though this week. And speaking of that, whose turn is it for these things? I'm trying to remember.
Did you do both last week? Am I supposed to do both?
I think I maybe made a suggestion that you used for was it the SNL character?
For the stand-up or for the SNL?
I think it was the SNL thing, because
I think it was the SNL. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think I had. Yeah, so I think I had comedy last week. So you have comedy this week, and then I have a Mount Rushmore.
Do you have a Mount Rushmore by chance?
If you're talking about Mount Rushmores, really, if you're talking Mount Rushmores, and if you're asking me if I have one, I've got an answer for that. Yeah, I've got a Mount Rush. I mean, what I don't have a Mount Rushmore? I mean, you're asking me if I don't have a Mount Rushmore? I mean, yeah. I mean, of course I have a Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's like saying, do you have a comedy special on deck? I mean, are you thinking about a comedy special or
I don't know, but I'm letting you do my riff right now. That's for sure.
I mean, of course, can't even believe you'd ask me if I have a Mount Rushmore ready to go. I mean, come on, Mount Rushmore. It's in South Dakota, really. I mean, it's
South Dakota. It's pretty simple.
Sure.
If I were going to say something, I would just be like, you know what, South Dakota.
The Mount Rushmore of Dakotas is what we're going to do this week. No,
there you go. I'm going back in time.
Yeah, I do have one, by the way.
I'm going back in time. Have we done Ari Schaefer, Double Negative?
Ari Shafir? No, we have not.
Shafir, Schaefer, whatever his name is. It's from a few years back, but this dude is pretty funny, and I don't know that we've done any of his stand-up.
No, I don't think we have. And
I really like him. He's funny. He's very toe the line. He doesn't toe the line. He steps over it.
Yep.
Sure very does. Much Anthony Jeselnik type stepping over the line kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty funny. It's from 2017. It's on Netflix. And it is called, what did I say it was called? Double Negative.
Double Negative. Okay. Yep, he's a New York guy. He's friends with all of our favorite guys. And he's friends with the Bert Kreischers and all the LA guys too. Who he dosed, as a matter of fact. He put drugs in his drink or whatever. Because he oversteps like that. That's what I've seen him be funny before.
He roofied someone.
Yeah, he roofied his friend. Yeah. And that's why I'm like a little. I don't think anybody's ever been like that for me, but he's almost overstepped so much in real life. I feel like that. I'm like, okay, easy. But anyway, that's good. That's good. Let's do that one. I think if I remember right, I think I saw him when I was in New York in July. I'm pretty sure he was one of the guys that I saw. Okay, good. The Mount Rushmore for next week is states. Mount Rushmore of states.
You said South Dakota. You slime belly gutter tonight.
Sure, that gave me the idea.
All right, South Dakota.
Your top four states. Your top four states.
Why not? I've already got them. I already know what they are.
Is that okay?
You want to hear them?
Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia.
Not. I don't know that Ohio will make my list.
Come on, the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Let me ask you that.
Exactly right.
Let me ask you that really quick so we can get going. Do you ever tell anybody you're from Ohio when you're out of town? I mean, if somebody asks you.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I tell them all the time, Cincinnati, Ohio. Absolutely.
But do you
I've almost always got – no, I say Cincinnati, Ohio.
Do you always say Cincinnati?
Yeah, I don't think I just say I'm from Ohio. I don't think I've ever said I'm from Ohio.
I feel like that's a Cincinnati thing. Or it might be certain other cities. Maybe it's every big city or something. But
yeah, I've heard a
lot of people just say the state that they're from. Even California. I'm from California. I'm from Connecticut. I'm from a lot of people just say the state that they're from. I always say Cincinnati.
You know why? Mm-mm. Delaware, Ohio, Iowa. A lot of places just have stigmas of being crappy states, and Ohio is one of them. So if you're going to say you're from Ohio, you're like, I'm Cleveland, or you either say Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, Cincinnati.
If you're from Cleveland, you shouldn't say you're from Cleveland.
I'm just saying it's better than saying you're from Ohio. But no, it's no. I guess you're right. I don't know, because you think of people say all the time, I'm from Indy. I'm from Indiana. Like, I don't know anybody that tells me where in Indiana they're from, but that's probably because outside of Indianapolis. Is there anywhere else in Indiana? It's all
No.
just hills, right? You either
Gar-
live on a farm or you live in Indianapolis.
Gary, Indiana is where
It's a
Michael
suburb.
Jackson and
It's
family
a
are from.
suburb, or that's a not a suburb by any means, but that is a really crappy part of Chicago. Is what Gary, Indiana
Essentially,
is.
yeah.
It's a crappy part of Chicago.
East Chicago, Indiana is
Yes, that's what Gary, Indiana is. Gary, Indiana is a crappy part of Chicago, and Chicago's got a lot of crappy parts. So it's southeast, like South Chicago, South Side. Get a little sketchy. Gary, Indiana is even more south and east. So it's
Jim Gaffigan is from that area.
That explains a lot.
Oh, you turkey. I'm going to just for that, and I'm making you do it next week.
I've been waiting for it. So I almost watched it the other day just to get it over with.
I watched like the first 5 minutes a week ago or something, and I was like, no, I'm going to save it. I was just going to watch it by myself. But I've still got a long list, man. There are a bunch of them that have come out lately. So we got.
I'm glad you got them.
We're good. We're good on those for a while. But I love the Ari Shaffir choice, by the way. I do love that.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good. We got Mount Rushmore states. We've got Ari Shaffir double negative from a few years back. We had a great podcast with our man Andre Edwards. When next time we talk to you, we will know if the Bengals won or lost the Super Bowl. Either way, the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Before we get out of here, can I just say I found something today that I think you're going to be – I don't know if you've seen or not, but I just want you to look at this.
Super king size pack of Reese's peanut butter cup. I've not seen this. This is the first time.
6-pack of Reese's in the sheets down the street from the hotel.
And the way that moved, I can tell there's none in there.
Daddy ate all of them.
My man
ate them all.
My man. As you should.
Absolutely.
It'd take me 30 seconds to eat all 6 of those things.
I'm not going to lie to you. I also bought a 2-pack of the egg Reese's too.
You have to. If they're available, you have to buy the eggs.
Can't not.
The eggs, the pumpkins, the Christmas trees.
You know what I really like that I haven't been able to find lately? Are the Reese's Pieces in the king size cups or the Reese's Pieces in those Reese cup bars. I love the Reese's Pieces in them. Can't find them anywhere.
Really? They were really popular for a while, but
they were.
Yeah, maybe they're.
They had trouble the last week or two.
And even more so, I know I've told you about this on this podcast. I'm pretty sure they had for a brief time, a much more brief time, and they were much harder to find. Were cookies, the cookie ones. They had bits of cookie.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that.
I picked those up at like a Thornton's for 3 months or something like that, and then after that, I haven't seen them.
You ate them all, and they were gone. That's a bummer, man. That's a bummer. All right. Well, until the next time that we get to know, oh my God, about the Bengals in the Super Bowl, I'm so excited I can't even speak. Until then, don't forget to turn your headlights on.